Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. Welcome back to the channel here on YouTube.com, as of course you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. This is the Lightning Flash update for March 14th, 2020. Happy Saturday, although it hasn't really been too much of a happy time for everyone involved in the world. I'm normally more energetic and more hyped up, but I thought I'd take a little bit more of a serious approach, considering that there is a huge pandemic going on in the world. This coronavirus outbreak has got a lot of people scared. It's got a lot of people freaked out. It feels as though it's the apocalypse. You know, I was working just the other day, and they called me in early, and I ended up staying a little later. There was about 9 registers open at my market, with lines on every single one of them. People robbing out the meat section, toilet paper section, paper towel section, pasta, produce, home health and beauty, you name it. So, it's got a lot of people freaked out, it's got a lot of people worried, and the wrestling world as a whole has taken a drastic shift. You know, you take a look at Monday, and Monday to Wednesday was regular shows with regular crowd members, and then by Thursday, we had events being canceled and moved, like the Rochester AEW, the Blood and Guts AEW. They moved it to the Daily Place, and then the Daily Place canceled that event. And then SmackDown proceeded without a live audience. 205 Live proceeded without a live audience. Monday Night Raw is going to proceed without a live audience on Monday. I mean, we have 3 hours of that on Monday. That should be crazy to see how that plays out. WrestleMania still has yet to be postponed. The NBA canceled their season, MLB postponed theirs, XFL postponed theirs, NCAA, they were originally going to go at it in empty arenas, but then they just canceled it altogether. So it's a rather crazy time, crazy happenings in the early portions of 2020 for sure. But I wanted to start off the LFU by offering my thoughts and prayers out to those being affected by this deadly disease. I truthfully hope they find a cure and they get you healthy ASAP. To everyone that is currently scared, you know, I can only tell you to stay healthy, stay safe, wash your hands, you know, the usual things, the usual bread and butter as far as these types of illnesses go. I will be getting content up for you guys as well. My college actually moved all classes to online, at least until April 14th. For all I know, we could be out for the entire semester. Montclair, they actually closed down for the entire semester as a whole. I don't know about William Patterson, but I'm going to keep you guys updated on that. But I do appreciate each and every single one of you sticking by me. I do appreciate each and every single one of you still watching my content. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in every single time I upload a video. I appreciate those who have always been subscribed to me since day one, and I appreciate the new ones. I will be getting as much content up for you guys as possible, starting with this video right here, and moving forward. I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as possible, considering that I really just want to relax for the rest of the day. I understand it's a rather stressful time for everyone, including myself, and I got to get some schoolwork done as well. I'm actually going to start off with the news, rumors, and reports, and then I'm going to go into the weekly shows. I'm going to try and breeze through it as quickly as I can. I don't want to go in-depth too much, but I'm probably going to end up sitting here for 2 hours anyway, because that's how it usually goes. You say you want to do one thing, and then you end up doing another thing because you just lose track of time. That's usually how it goes in today's world. But regardless, before we get started, before we get into the news and rumors, follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS. Follow me on Instagram and Periscope at TheDJStorms. Add me on Facebook. All links are in the description. For emails and business inquiries, send me an email at StormsTakeOver or just StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Next Friday on March 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, me and Thunder are back in the game on Periscope. That's right, head over to Periscope at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on March 20th, next Friday, 2020. Me and Thunder are going live for another Thunderscope. He's performing Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne, and ain't it fitting? Because I'm the conductor of the craziest train in the wrestling community. So you best hop on board or get out the way. But regardless, Thunderscope next Friday. We're going to try and brighten some people's moods. We're going to put on a great performance, or Thunder's going to put on a great performance. I wish I had the talent that Thunder had. But he's going to perform Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne. Check that out next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Special thank you to Earl Cole as well for appearing on the Rundown for Elimination Chamber. That was last Saturday. I greatly appreciate everything that he has done for the DJ Storms brand. I greatly appreciate his friendship. I greatly appreciate him watching my videos. Same thing to everyone else. Hit that thumbs up. Let's see if we can get this video to 15, 20 likes. Comment down below on what are your thoughts on this whole coronavirus outbreak and how it's going to affect WrestleMania season as a whole and the wrestling community as a whole. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers, less than 300 away. And hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it's the best time to be on YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the news, rumors, and reports, and then we'll get into the weekly shows. Not much news going on right now. Not much news. I have very little to talk about as far as the news goes, but I will try and go in depth as possible because I do have a lot to say about these specific reports, but I won't spend too much time on it. We'll see if we can get it all done before I get at least 30 minutes in. News, rumors, and reports. My first report comes from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Dave Meltzer reported that Undertaker and Stiles, they are having a match at Mania as they are going to sign the contract on Raw on Monday. He reported that their WrestleMania match will not be a casket match, despite the rumors that the match could be announced as one, considering AJ Styles was specifically saying he's going to put the final nail in the Undertaker's coffin at WrestleMania. He was saying that in his promo on Monday, and I will address his promo once we get into the weekly show reviews. This is actually a good decision on my part because I really don't see any necessary reason why it needs to be a casket match, especially at the age of those two individuals. I think it should just be a regular one-on-one match. Go in there, do what you need to do, and that's it. Do what you need to do, and then get out of there. Realistically, I still don't think this match should be happening. I am not invested in this match whatsoever. The promo that Stiles cut was great. It was excellent in every way, shape, and form. And we're going to talk about how it was produced and how it was said from AJ Styles. AJ Styles and his delivery in that promo was great. But I just don't really find any redeeming qualities about this match, considering that The Undertaker, he can barely walk. The Undertaker is not in the same condition that he was in 5 years ago. 5 years ago, he was in a lot better condition, and he actually put on a very good match with Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 31. But that Undertaker versus this Undertaker, two different Undertakers. Undertaker, he is at the end of his career. He's pretty much a broken down veteran with a bad hip. I don't think that he can really put forth that effort to bring you a decent match anymore. If so, it would have to be in like a tag team match. It would have to be in a multi-man match where he doesn't have to carry half the load. Now, AJ Styles is great. AJ Styles could lead a broomstick to a 5-star match, but still, I don't necessarily see a reason why this match is happening. The Undertaker hasn't even come out and said, oh yeah, I attacked AJ Styles and I took the weight trophy because blah, 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 blah. Like, why did The Undertaker come back and do what he did? It doesn't really make any sense to me, but regardless, I'm glad it's not a casket match. We don't really need that. I don't really see any reason for a gimmick match like that at WrestleMania, especially with Styles and The Undertaker. We'll see what happens. We'll see how the contract signing goes on Monday. Moving on. Alex McCarthy reported on March 8th, which was Elimination Chamber Day, that 2 women's matches could be in the works for WrestleMania. He sent out 2 separate tweets. The first one stated, and I quote, "A source tells me the plan for the SD women's title at WM36 is a 6-pack challenge right now. Bayley versus Sasha versus Naomi versus Lacey Evans versus Carmella. That's 5 of the 6 names." The second tweet he followed up with stated, and I quote, "I asked if Alexa Bliss was the other, but I'm told Bliss/Cross will challenge Kabuki Warriors in addition to Divas of Doom in a 3-way tag. Sasha versus Bayley was an original plan, but I'm told Sasha's injury caused them to change course." End quote. First things first, with the women's tag team title, I'm surprised that they haven't gotten rid of the women's tag team titles. It's been an entire year, and we have had 0 memorable moments with those titles outside of when Sasha and Bayley first won them. And realistically speaking, the Kabuki Warriors have been the best champions. That's definitely not saying much. And realistically, I'm surprised that people still remember that we have women's tag team titles. And the only reason why anyone would is because Asuka and Kairi Sane are Asuka and Kairi Sane. Even though they have been treated like complete shit ever since the start of the year. The women's tag team titles are pretty much props right now. They're worth just about as much as the lint in my back pocket. I'm seriously surprised that they haven't gotten rid of them. And when they get rid of them, that's the day I throw a bonfire in my backyard and we celebrate until the sun comes up. That they finally got rid of those pieces of trash championships. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Do we really need Alexa Bliss in another championship match? Let alone at WrestleMania. Not even at WrestleMania. Do we really need her in another championship match, period? Do we really need to see her win another championship at all? I would much rather just see the Kabuki Warriors versus the Divas of Doom if you absolutely have to put a women's tag team title match on the show. With how Beth Phoenix looked in the Rumble, going 30 plus minutes with a busted up fucking head, you know, I think that she could actually bring something decent out of Kairi Sane and Asuka. It would actually be an interesting back and forth to see Kairi Sane versus Beth Phoenix or Asuka versus Beth Phoenix. I would much rather see a standard 2-on-2 match between the Kabuki Warriors and the Divas of Doom. Now, realistically, I would be okay with not having a women's tag team title match on the show at all, because the women's tag team titles are absolutely worthless, whether you want to admit it or not. And the majority of the community will agree with me on that one. Either way, this will be the piss break match of WrestleMania. Now we got Sasha, Bayley, Naomi, Lacey, Carmella, and a 6th name. I'm sorry, but did I ask for a repeat of WrestleMania 33? Remember WrestleMania 33 when we had that 6-pack challenge in which Naomi won the championship in? That match went 5.5 minutes. Match went 5.5 minutes. It was forgettable, and it was merely used to get Naomi a win in her hometown. And on top of that, Sasha versus Bayley. Original plan, Alex McCarthy was told that Sasha's injury caused them to change course. If Sasha was seriously injured, or injured at all, why is she competing in tag team matches on SmackDown? For the last 3 weeks now, she's been competing in tag team matches on SmackDown. And she's been doing everything that Sasha Banks would normally do. She's taking bumps, she's flying off the top rope, running the ropes, hitting people with meteoras and punches and kicks. She's doing everything that she would normally do if she wasn't injured. So how serious is this injury? Is she even injured at all? I don't know. I'm really having a tough time believing that they are switching this up and making it a 6-pack challenge if Sasha Banks is legitimately injured. And if she is legitimately injured, what is stopping you from not having her compete at all until WrestleMania so she can preserve her body, and then we get Sasha and Bayley at WrestleMania? What's stopping you from having her sit back, preserve her body, and then once we get to WrestleMania, then she can go full throttle with Bayley? What is stopping you from doing that? Or did that not cross your mind? I would much rather than not have a SmackDown Women's Championship match on WrestleMania at all if it's going to be a 6-pack challenge. I don't fucking need a repeat from 3 years ago at WrestleMania. And who the fuck is this 6th woman? 6-pack challenge. Bullshit. Sasha Banks is injured. Bullshit. She was injured. She would not be competing on SmackDown. 3 weeks now. 3 weeks. Back to back to back. She's competed in tag team matches, and she's been doing everything that Sasha Banks would normally do if she wasn't injured. Change course. This is just WWE looking for an excuse not to give us what we should have gotten 3 years ago at WrestleMania between Sasha and Bayley. And then we should have gotten it at SummerSlam that year. Then we should have gotten it at WrestleMania 34. Then we should have gotten it at SummerSlam that year. Then we should have gotten it at WrestleMania 35. We never got it. Speaking of WrestleMania, according to Wrestling Observer Radio, both Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode and Heavy Machinery were eliminated inside the Elimination Chamber because one of the matches expected to be announced at WrestleMania is Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. So, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, that's been teased now for a few weeks. Considering that Dolph Ziggler stole Mandy Rose from Otis. But with everything going on right now, WrestleMania may not even happen. I mean, Otis is great. Don't get me wrong. Otis is great, but I would much rather see Heavy Machinery fighting for the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles at WrestleMania, especially after the way they booked that gauntlet match on SmackDown Live before the Chamber. After everything that they did in that gauntlet match, I don't necessarily see why Heavy Machinery shouldn't be in the SmackDown Live Tag Team title on at WrestleMania. If anything, if you're going to do Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, fine. Otis should win. More likely than not, we're going to get the Usos versus John Morrison and The Miz. John Morrison and The Miz should retain, and then the pay-per-view after WrestleMania, we get John Morrison and The Miz versus Heavy Machinery. Heavy Machinery could win the titles then. We'll see how that plays out, but WrestleMania may not even happen, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I'm talking about that right now, actually. Hillsborough County Commissioner Les Miller told Fox 13 that they are giving WWE a chance to reschedule WrestleMania 36. If Vince McMahon hasn't done that in about a week, they'll probably have to pull the plug on the show of shows. Les stated, and I quote, "I'm hoping that Vince McMahon and WrestleMania and WWE make the call themselves, but a week from now, if they have not done that, and we're still in the situation we're in, we'll probably have to pull the plug on that." To be quite honest, this is probably the best idea. Vince McMahon is trying way too hard to play God. Vince McMahon is trying way too hard to be the only major sports league that is hosting their biggest event of the year, or hosting a event of the year, period, going on. Guy holds fucking events in Saudi Arabia, and it really just goes to show you how greedy Vince McMahon really is. The fact that the NBA, the MLB, the NCAA, all these major sports leagues, they're willingly sacrificing millions of dollars for the sake of everyone's health, and Vince McMahon is still hesitant to postpone WrestleMania. It really just goes to show you how greedy Vince McMahon really is. I don't really want to hear a peep out of fucking anyone that's going to tell me Vince McMahon isn't the problem. And I got a lot more to say about that once we get to SmackDown. Trust me. But regardless, let's get into the weekly show reviews. Gotta scroll all the way back to the beginning. I took like 15 pages worth of notes. Shit that I do. Monday Night Raw. This show really was not anything special whatsoever. Outside of the promos that we got from a few people, this was a completely missable edition of Monday Night Raw. It was not good whatsoever. It was very, very, very hard to sit through. But then again, anything WWE main roster is very hard to sit through. Becky kicked off the show, and she talked about Shayna Baszler. She took a look at what Shayna Baszler did at the Elimination Chamber. She says she is a bitch, but she is the bitch that runs the division. She talks about how she beat Ronda Rousey, talks about how Shayna Baszler was without a doubt the most dominant female in NXT. She did mention how Shayna Baszler did not shake her hand after she won the main event of WrestleMania, which I actually liked. That was a very nice touch. Something that no one even thought of, and it definitely adds another layer on top of this storyline. The only thing that I don't like is neither Becky nor Shayna mentioned what happened at Survivor Series, because realistically speaking, that played a major factor in this storyline, and how Shayna was pretty much embarrassed by Becky Lynch after she beat Becky and Bayley in the main event of Survivor Series. It doesn't really make any sense that that's not being brought up when Shayna Baszler's moment was tarnished by Becky, and now Shayna's coming back for revenge against Becky for embarrassing her. It doesn't really make any sense that neither woman had brought that up. But she said that Shayna is underestimating her, and that she is going to smash Shayna's face in for it at WrestleMania. This was a very good promo. Becky said everything that she needed to say. Becky did everything that she needed to do. And she definitely made this storyline a lot more interesting. This is exactly what was supposed to happen. Shayna was not there. She didn't need to be there. Have her take the week off. Have Becky take the spotlight this week. I have absolutely no problem with it. This was a very good promo. However, no matter how good this promo was, whether you want to admit it or not, Becky's credibility is gone. Becky's credibility is gone. There is nothing that Becky Lynch is going to say that is going to make me, or at least anyone with a brain, take her seriously after everything that she's been put through. Ever since the Hell in a Cell match with Sasha Banks, she has been on a slow decline. Now she is at the bottom of the barrel. She has reached her peak, and her time's come. Come WrestleMania, Shayna Baszler is walking out with the Raw Women's Championship, and that's it. And I'm telling you right now, so far, right now, this was good. This was very good, and this did not make anyone recoil in a fit of cringe, which is good. But at the same point in time, they need to be careful. They need to keep this up, because if they don't keep this up, once Becky loses the Raw Women's Championship, she's going to have to turn heel. I've been saying for weeks now that Becky Lynch has pretty much become the new Seth Rollins, before Seth Rollins had to turn heel. It's an indisputable fact. Shayna Baszler is your new Raw Women's Champion at WrestleMania, if WrestleMania is even taking place. Rey Mysterio versus Angel Garza. This was a good match. This was probably the best match of the entire show in terms of work rate. We had Garza in control going into commercial. We had a pop-up knee strike by Garza. Baseball slide splash under the bottom rope by Rey. I actually love that baseball slide splash that Rey does. It's a very innovative move. We had Rey missing the 619. Garza caught a super kick. Garza caught him with a super kick for it too. Rey ended up countering the wing clipper. Rey hit the 619 and a splash for a win. Good match here. I am definitely expecting a multi-man matchup at WrestleMania. I can definitely see Andrade defending against Angel Garza, Rey Mysterio, Humberto, Aleister Black, and Ricochet. Aleister Black, considering that Aleister Black's not going to be involved with The Undertaker and AJ Styles, it would only make sense for Aleister Black to go into WrestleMania and compete for the United States Championship. If he doesn't, then he'll probably be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and we really don't want to see Aleister Black stuck in the fucking Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It does raise the question, though, who would you go with? Do you go with Garza, or do you go with Aleister Black to win the United States Championship at WrestleMania? It's definitely a toss-up. And if you're asking me, I would probably go with Aleister Black, considering that Aleister Black has been winning and winning and winning and winning constantly, and he has had 0 championship opportunities. But yet you see the Street Profits, yet you see the Street Profits, you see Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, you see the New Day, you see all these different people getting championship opportunities when they haven't done jack shit. Roman Reigns. Seriously. I don't know what you want me to tell you there. We had a segment with Rollins, Murphy, and the AOP attacking Owens backstage. Rollins was eating popcorn, similar to what Owens was doing at Elimination Chamber. They laid out Owens at the beginning of the show. Stone Cold Steve Austin is returning next Monday, so we're going to have Stone Cold Steve Austin without a live audience in front of everyone, in front of a camera, with no live audience in the PC next Monday for 316 Day. Charlotte came out to address Rhea Ripley and WrestleMania. She says that Rhea's all hype. She says that she's coming to teach Rhea a lesson before Rhea came out. Charlotte then cut Rhea off before Rhea could even get a word out. She said that she's excused, and then Rhea hit Charlotte upside the head and left. First things first, Rhea got new pyro, which looks badass, by the way. Rhea's new pyro looks badass. That's number one. Number two, this build is doing nothing for either woman. I'm sorry. I cannot get invested in this feud. And three, I'm telling you right now, Charlotte needs to go away. Charlotte, if Charlotte were to go away for a year, it would not only benefit her, but it would benefit the entire show, because Charlotte's presence brings the show down. But yet this is the woman that Vince McMahon is more likely than not going to put the NXT Women's Championship on come WrestleMania, if there is even a WrestleMania. And this continued into NXT as well, which I will talk about. Bobby Lashley versus Zack Ryder. Spinebuster, Dominator, Lashley wins. Next. Rollins and Buddy Murphy came to Black. They knocked on Aleister Black's door, and they walked into his little closet with a proposition to join their little posse. Black denied. Rollins said, "You're either with him or against him." Black said those sound like fighting words, and that he accepts. Drew McIntyre versus Eric Rowan. Drew McIntyre with a belly-to-belly suplex on Eric Rowan on the floor, and then Drew took his pen with the fake spider that he got at Party City, and he used the steps to crush it. Future Shock DDT Claymore, and a win for Drew McIntyre. Eric Rowan's push, or if you even want to call it a fucking push, that's over. Goodbye, Eric Rowan. And goodbye, Mechanical Spider from Party City. Kabuki Warriors versus Natalya and Liv Morgan. Before this match even took place, the Kabuki Warriors, they were rambling, ranting, laughing, and screeching in Japanese. They were pretty much being annoying as can possibly be, and saying everything in Japanese just to get under the skin of everyone. And a lot of people have been saying this. Content creators, podcasters. Brian Alvarez even tweeted it out a few weeks back when he was live in attendance for Monday Night Raw with his daughter. He tweeted this out. When did Asuka and Kairi Sane become the Japanese version of the Iconics? Iconics haven't been seen since November, and thank Christ. Thank Christ they haven't been seen since November. But when did Asuka and Kairi Sane take over their place? Do we really need another version of the Iconics? Let their gimmick solely be based off of what is going on in the ring. These two are two world-class athletes, and you're having them go out there and rant, rave, screech, yell, and laugh in Japanese for the sake of it. I swear to God, Kairi Sane's screeches were making my fucking ears bleed. And then what happened in the match made my head hurt. Because Liv Morgan was booked like a stereotypical dumb blonde. Kabuki Warriors were in control before Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan came out to watch. Sarah Logan and Ruby Riott started fighting. Liv Morgan went up to the top rope while Natalya was waiting for a tag. Natalya wanted the tag, and Liv Morgan cross-bodied both of them on the outside. And Natalya was left to fight off both women in a handicap match. Stereotypical dumb blonde booking. It's ridiculous. Natalya with a discus lariat. Natalya caught Kairi Sane in the sharpshooter until Asuka caught Natty with a kick for the win. This match was boring. This was boring as fuck. And it didn't help that Liv Morgan was made to look like a dumbass. OC came out to talk about The Undertaker costing AJ Styles at Super Showdown and Elimination Chamber. Styles was standing in the middle of the ring while the crowd started chanting Undertaker. He talked about how Undertaker retired after he lost to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and Undertaker ruined the moment when he came back a year later. Styles says that he wanted The Undertaker, or he wants The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He talked about Michelle McCool and how The Undertaker and her are married and how manipulative she is, and she's running him into the ground, constantly making him come back for a paycheck. And Styles says that he's going to help her, and he's going to run The Undertaker in the ground, or to the ground. He's going to run The Undertaker into the ground at WrestleMania. Says that Taker is nothing but a broken down old man named Mark Calloway. And he demanded for Undertaker to accept his challenge at WrestleMania. I could not give a single shit about Undertaker versus AJ Styles, and I don't understand how anyone would or could, and if you do, you are A, gullible fuck, and B, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. I'm just letting you know that. But this promo, great stuff. This promo by AJ Styles, this was definitely one of his better promos that he's ever cut in the WWE. I would even go so far as to say that this promo was better than the promo that he cut on Randy Orton ahead of their match at WrestleMania 35 last year. And that promo with Randy Orton, that was great. Calling Randy Orton, say that Randy Orton has a knockoff diamond cutter, saying that he needed his father to get him a job. That I love. But this, I think this may have been better than it. And you know something? I definitely can get behind AJ Styles really getting into it and really going in depth on The Undertaker and his personal life, making it personal because The Undertaker is sticking his nose in AJ Styles' business. Now AJ Styles is sticking his nose in The Undertaker's business. It should be very interesting to see how The Undertaker responds, even though we still haven't gotten an answer as to why The Undertaker came back and why he's been doing this to AJ Styles. But nevertheless, great promo. Riddick Moss versus Cedric Alexander, 24/7 championship. I barely even paid attention to this. All I know is that Riddick Moss won with a modified neck breaker, and that was pretty much it. 2 minutes, and Cedric Alexander joins Ricochet in the elite class of Monday Night Raw Burial at the hands of Creative and Riddick Moss. Riddick Moss was something in the tag team with Tino Sabatelli on NXT, if anyone remembers that, but this, I don't know how anyone can support this shit. The 24/7 title needs to die. Needs to die with the Women's Tag Team Championships. And Riddick Moss, look, I think that Riddick Moss definitely has potential, but in this role, I don't understand how anyone can give a shit about him. MVP came out, and he said that he's building a stable around Edge. Edge ended up showing up. Edge came out, called out Orton. MVP called out Edge for having his head in the wrong places. He called out Edge's wife. MVP caught a spear. Orton came out, started attacking Edge, and then Edge RKO'd Orton before Orton was able to get away. Edge RKO'd MVP onto the chair, and then delivered 2 concertos to MVP. This is undoubtedly the best-built storyline and the best-built match going into WrestleMania. And again, the show may not even happen. So all this build would be for a postponed match. I don't know what's going on here, but man, this was a great segment with Edge and Orton. And Edge is getting every single ounce of babyface reaction that he should be getting. And Orton is just that good of a heel. And I love what they've been doing with the storyline. Next week, we got the contract signing between Undertaker and Stiles, Aleister Black and Seth Rollins. This match went all but 5 minutes. This match went all but 5 minutes before it was interrupted by Buddy Murphy. Before AOP came out, the Viking Raiders came out, the Street Profits came out. We got another big brawl and an 8-man tag. So, you give us Black and Rollins only to end it in 5 minutes. Just to get the stereotypical 8-man tag that we've seen almost every single week since the start of 2020, but with different people. I didn't even watch the match. I was on my phone. I was going to get some dessert. I was going to get myself a bottle of water. I was petting my dog. I was doing everything but watching this match. All I know is that Rollins and company won. Owens came out and got stomped by Rollins 3 times. More likely than not, they're building towards Owens and Rollins at WrestleMania. Really nothing special on Raw outside of the Edge Orton segment, AJ Styles promo, and Becky Lynch's promo to start the show. The Raw was nothing but a promo show. Really nothing special on the show whatsoever. Same thing with SmackDown. SmackDown was all but a 2-highlight show as well. Now, I do definitely appreciate them going forth and putting on a show, even though I would rather have Vince just let them be with their families, but regardless of that, I do appreciate them putting forth the show with no audience and trying to make the best out of a bad situation, but SmackDown still was not a good show. I don't know what anyone else is watching saying, oh, this show was pretty decent, it was pretty fun. I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about the fucking idiots on the SmackDown Live portion of the review, but right now, let's talk about AEW Dark. Let's talk about something worth talking about. This was actually a very good episode of AEW Dark. We got two very good tag team matches, and we did get a couple of matches in which two individuals gained some momentum. We had Jurassic Express versus Peter Avalon and Kip Sabian to start off the show. We had an inverted senton on Sabian by Jungle Boy and a springboard corkscrew crossbody on Avalon. Avalon and Sabian isolated Jungle Boy here in the mid portions of this match. Avalon missed the moonsault, hot tag to Luchasaurus. We had the choke slam moonsault combo broken up by Sabian. Sabian got taken out with the tail whip kick, and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus hit a double team move on Avalon for the 1, 2, 3. Damn good tag team match right here. Jurassic Express continue their momentum. They get the win. And Jurassic Express, I like how they've been being booked since the start of 2020, and it did continue into Dynamite. They have been getting wins here and there, but they haven't been getting too much momentum. Slow baby steps for the Jurassic Express, because you don't want to blow all of their momentum off too early, and you don't want to have them gain too much momentum where they have to give them the tag team titles now. The story with Jurassic Express is them constantly trying to get that big win, to constantly gain momentum, but they can't gain enough of it. That's the story with Jurassic Express. They gain momentum here and there, but then something happens. Something happens that halts their momentum. They get 2 wins here, but then they get a loss. They get 3 wins here, and then they get 2 more losses. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's a back and forth roller coaster ride with the Jurassic Express. And then, once we get into the summer months, that's when they really start gaining more momentum. And then, boom, boom. All Out 2, if there is an All Out 2. Depends on how long this pandemic really lasts. But regardless, All Out 2, that's when they become champions. We had Jimmy Havoc versus Severino Corrente. This was pretty much an academic showcase match for Jimmy Havoc. Jimmy Havoc is actually adding a lot more moves to his arsenal, which I like. We had Havoc with the double stomp, suplex into the corner, diving double stomp by Havoc, which looked brutal. Fisherman DDT, Death Valley Driver, and an Acid Rainmaker for the win on Severino Corrente. And then after Jimmy Havoc got the win, Luther attacks. I don't really have any interest in seeing Jimmy Havoc versus Luther. However, I think that if they do a no DQ match, some type of stipulation match, more likely than not, it could end up being decent. I mean, we did get something decent with Joey Janella and Kip Sabian on AEW Dark not that long ago, so we could probably get the same thing here. Abaddon versus Hikaru Shida. This was actually a very interesting showcase match for both women, actually. We had a suplex by Shida, but Abaddon, she bridged out into a Bray Wyatt spider-like walk. Shida unleashed the flurry on Abaddon with a high knee and a dropkick. Abaddon was taken out momentarily, and Shida set her up for the Shining Wizard, and I love how Abaddon just looked in the face of Shida and just screamed in her face, like, yeah, do it. Like, knee me in the face. And she was like, okay. Shining Wizard to the face, and Shida gets the win. Abaddon has a very nice look, a very intimidating look. Almost reminds me of Rosemary from Impact when she was with Abyss and Crazy Steve in Decay. I think that if they want to, Abaddon could really be a major focal point in the women's division. That type of character and that type of uniqueness as far as a women's wrestler goes in AEW, that could only benefit the division. Hikaru Shida, what can I say about Hikaru Shida? Hikaru Shida is your next AEW Women's World Champion, come Double or Nothing. Private Party versus Sonny Kiss and Brandon Cutler. You guys know that I'm not a fan of Sonny Kiss whatsoever, but this was probably the best that Sonny Kiss has looked since coming to AEW. And I think that him in a serious tag team with Brandon Cutler, I think that could actually work out fairly well if they want to. I think that if they want to, Sonny Kiss and Brandon Cutler could actually be a fairly decent tag team. They put on a damn good match here with Private Party. I definitely enjoyed it. Private Party was in control here with some double team action before Sonny Kiss got the hot tag. Double springboard clothesline, taking out both members of Private Party. We had a suicide dive by Brandon Cutler on Mark Quinn. Elbow drop to Cassidy for a 2. Sunny Kiss came in with 2 PKs on Private Party and a moonsault on Mark Quinn. Cutler came in with 2 double gut busters. Sunny Kiss was the legal person, but he only got a 2 count on Isaiah Cassidy. They hit Gin and Juice for the win, did Private Party. Damn good tag team match right here. Nice to see Private Party getting back on a winning streak after a rather extensive losing streak. Death Triangle then came out and attacked all 4 men. Pac said there's no happy ending for tonight, and this is what's going to happen when you disrespect wrestlers of our caliber. Anarchy. No one is safe. Joey Janela and the Best Friends came out to fend them off, and that was how AEW Dark went off the air. Very good episode of AEW Dark. They're definitely turning up the heat on both AEW Dark and Dynamite. Dynamite is not slowing down whatsoever. On to AEW Dynamite itself. Kody vs Ortiz kicked off the show. Through the crowd, we saw Jake Roberts and Lance Archer. And they sat down right in the front row and they watched the match between Kody and Ortiz. This is a great combination. And just the look of Jake Roberts and Lance Archer standing side by side, they look legit as ever. They look like a duo, a wrestler and a manager duo that people are really going to take seriously. Lance Archer is a fucking beast. I saw his match with Moxley at Wrestle Kingdom. Loved every minute of it. And I think that Lance Archer could really be a valuable player in AEW in a very, very, very short amount of time. Sooner rather than later, Lance Archer is going to be a major player. Especially now that he's being thrusted into a feud with Kody. You can tell that they have a lot of faith in this guy. So they watched the match as Ortiz worked on the legs of Kody. Kody with a suplex toss. Ortiz stopped Kody in his tracks as Kody went to the top. He got a superplex. We had Kody taking a fisherman suplex by Ortiz for a 2 count. Kody was able to lock in the figure 4, and Ortiz tapped to the figure 4. Fun match to kick off Dynamite. Chris Jericho, he came up on the screen and says that the Inner Circle are going to beat the hell out of you pumpkin head dipshits, which I completely lost my shit at. I absolutely love that line. Pumpkin head dipshits. It's great. Put that on a t-shirt and sell it. They showed Nick Jackson trapped under a metal garage door with blood coming out of his mouth, and Chris Jericho said, by the looks of it, he's got a severe headache or an entire body ache. So then the Elite, they went to the back and they rode off with Nick Jackson in an ambulance towards the hospital. Then we had Nyla Rose and Bea Priestley versus Hikaru Shida and Chris Statler. This was a very, very good women's tag team match. The women's division, let me tell you something. Whether you want to admit it or not, the women's division has really been stepping it up. They have really been stepping it up in the early portions of 2020. It is really, really, really difficult for me to sit here and tell you that the women's division has not improved, especially with who they got in it and who they are putting forth. It's great to see Bea Priestley back. I loved Bea Priestley in her match against Britt Baker. That was actually a very good match back at Full Gear. That was probably Britt Baker's best match to date in AEW. Nyla Rose and Bea Priestley, they isolated Hikaru Shida before she made the hot tag to Chris. We had a roundhouse kick and a clothesline combination to Bea. Falcon Arrow for a 2. Shida and Bea, they exchanged kicks before Nyla came in. Nyla got the tag. She draped Shida over the top rope. She missed her flying knee. Shida and Chris with a punt kick knee strike for a 2. We had a superplex by Shida on Bea Priestley. Chris Statlander was taken out. Shida was on the receiving end of a spear and a beast bomb for the win. Very good match. And then afterwards, Bea Priestley attacked Nyla and held up the title. Loved the tease, the possible tease of Shida versus Nyla Rose for the Women's Championship. That's definitely going to happen at Double or Nothing. And you don't want Shida to gain too much momentum, considering that if she does, you're going to have the championship match sooner rather than later. And I also love the fact that Bea Priestley is now throwing her name in the hat for a shot at the Women's Championship. Definitely would love to see Bea Priestley and Nyla Rose perhaps as an interim an interim championship match before we eventually get Nyla Rose and Shida. We definitely have to get a rematch between Riho and Nyla Rose, since Riho still has a rematch. We'll see how that plays out, but regardless, very good women's tag team title match. Bea Priestley attacking Nyla. Definitely would love to see Bea Priestley in the women's title picture sooner rather than later. Christopher Daniels was shown in the back mocking the Dark Order's video packages. Instead of join the Dark Order, he was going on and saying, screw the Dark Order, which I laughed at. He ended up challenging Evil Uno and Stu Grayson to singles matches over the course of the next few weeks whenever they want. So, interesting to see how that plays out. MJF, the Butcher, and the Blade versus Jurassic Express. This was a damn good six-man tag team match. MJF continuing his winning ways here, and the Jurassic Express is only getting more and more over. We had Jungle Boy getting the hot tag. He lit up all three men. Inverted senton to MJF. Moonsault to the Blade. Marco Stunt came in with a swinging DDT on the Butcher, and I swear, the Butcher's head was fucking piked. And I mean piked into the mat. I'm surprised that the Butcher even got up and continued the match. It looked brutal. Luchasaurus came in with a cannonball off the apron, taking out all three men. Tail whip kick on the Butcher, but the Butcher answers back with a clothesline on Luchasaurus. Marco Stunt was caught in the Salt of the Earth Fujiwara armbar by MJF, and a tap-out victory. MJF continues his winning ways. The Butcher and the Blade get the win as well. MJF, let me tell you, it is very, very, very difficult for me to sit here and tell you that MJF should not win the AEW World Championship right now. Very, very hard for me to say that. Moxley's great, but, you know, with the amount of heel work that MJF has been putting forth, it is going to be very, very, very difficult for me to say that MJF should not walk out the AEW World Champion come Double or Nothing if they decide to go that route. I'm actually still surprised that they're not continuing the Kody MJF feud. We had a promo with Britt Baker. Britt Baker promising to lead everyone into the future as their role model. She was talking to Tony Schiavone before Big Swole came out. And Big Swole called out Britt Baker for hiding behind Tony, even though Tony doesn't even like her. Britt Baker ripped on Swole for being the irrelevant wrestler in her family, saying that the only wrestler that people care about in her family is her boyfriend. Big Swole shows her wedding ring and says, "I'm married, baby." Nice little dig at Adam Cole there to follow up with Britt Baker's dig at Cedric Alexander before Britt Baker threw coffee on Swole and ran away. Britt Baker's heel work, excellent stuff. Britt Baker has been doing an exceptional job in this heel role. I do wish that she would really improve in the ring, though. I really wish that she would improve in the ring, considering that you can only get so far as promo work goes. You need to be able to put forth your best effort in the ring. She definitely works better in tag team matches. Big Swole is great. I love Big Swole. I love the intensity she brings. I always praise the charisma that she has. I praise everything about Big Swole, especially since that she's always progressing in the ring every single time that we see her. And I think that this could benefit both women. Britt Baker could definitely help get Big Swole more over as a babyface, and maybe Big Swole, with how fast she is progressing, she could actually bring Britt Baker to a decent match. We'll see how that plays out, but I definitely would love to see that match. Death Triangle versus Joey Janela and Private Party. This match was great. This match was great in every sense of the word. Death Triangle really, really establishing themselves as a force to be reckoned with very, very early in their stages of being a full-time trio. We had a silly string on Phoenix. Phoenix was taken out momentarily. Janella and Private Party held the ring. Janella with a crossbody taking out all three men. Coming back from commercial, Janella got the hot tag, suicide dive, Death Valley Driver, senton, and a shooting star press on Phoenix. So we had Janella with the Death Valley Driver, diving senton by Cassidy, and a shooting star by Mark Quinn on Phoenix before that was broken up. We had a sling blade on Quinn by Pentagon Jr. We had a power bomb onto Pac's knees, and then Pac held up his knees while Rey Fenix came off the top with a double stomp on Quinn, but Quinn kicked out. Cassidy and Quinn with dives taking out the Lucha Bros, and then we had a Death Valley driver on the apron to Pac by Joey Janella, diving elbow drop on Pac, but Pac kicks out. We then had a package pile driver and a Black Arrow for the win. Great match, and then afterwards the Best Friends in Orange Cassidy came out to stop the beatdown on Janella and Private Party. Next week we got the Best Friends versus Death Triangle. Best Friends with Orange Cassidy versus Death Triangle. Next week we also got the Exalted One being revealed. And then we got the Elite versus the Inner Circle next week in a 6-man tag team match to decide who is going to get the advantage going into Blood and Guts, if Blood and Guts even happens at this rate. Everyone in AEW for sure has to be running around in a panic, considering that Rochester got canceled, Daily Place got canceled, and now they don't even know what to do. So I don't know what's going on there, but they could end up losing millions of dollars, just like the NBA, NCAA, and MLB. We'll have to see what happens there. Dustin Rhodes was in the back, and he insisted that he is going to be Hangman's partner whether he likes it or not, and they're going to do some cowboy shit tonight against Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. We had some video submissions by fans and independent wrestlers. We actually saw a video submission by Simon Miller. Shout out to him, Simon Miller of What Culture. And they were all submissions for the Search for Spears, searching for a partner. I don't necessarily like what they're doing with Spears, but I actually have to give them credit for making light of it and actually getting everyone involved in it. Makes it a little bit more fun, and it really does showcase that they really do love their fan base, so I do have to give them credit there. Moxley was in the back, and he talked about the Inner Circle. He was interviewed by JR. I talked about how they are thinking about the Elite, and he is in their blind spot, and he dared anyone to come and take the title from him. Interesting to see where they go with Moxley. Does Jericho get his rematch, or do they go straight to a new challenger? Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus Dustin Rhodes and Adam Hangman Page. This was a good match, nothing too special. This went about 10 minutes. We had Dustin Rhodes getting the hot tag with a bulldog and a power slam on Guevara. Guevara and Jericho isolated Dustin before Hangman came in like a house of fire, lighting up Sammy Guevara with a fallaway slam, Pescado on Jericho. We had Page taking out Jericho and Hangman with a sliding lariat for a 2 on Guevara. Hangman took out the Inner Circle with a huge moonsault. Dustin Rhodes with the Canadian Destroyer on Guevara. Guevara bounced right back up. Buckshot lariat for the win. And then the Inner Circle attacked Hangman and Dustin before Omega and Kody came out. They got taken out before Matt Jackson saved Hangman. And Hangman was going to suffer the same fate that Jon Moxley suffered before Matt saved Hangman, and then gave the middle finger to Hangman, similar to what Hangman did last week to Matt Jackson. And then Jericho clonked Matt and Hangman in the faces with steel chairs before the Inner Circle stood tall. Great episode of Dynamite. They are knocking it out of the park almost every single week. Dynamite, let me tell you, Dynamite, they are earning every single bit of the ratings that they are getting. They are earning it. They are earning it, and they are earning every single victory that they've been getting over NXT. Dynamite has been on fire. They are not slowing down whatsoever. Unfortunately, they could very well end up slowing down, as the shows could very well not even take place next week. I definitely hope they figure something out. I mean, I'm not that worried, because even though I'm not getting Blood and Guts, I do get to go to the Newark show on July 22nd, which is fine. Nevertheless, great episode of Dynamite. Moving on to NXT. Keith Lee versus Cameron Grimes kicked off the show for the NXT North American Championship. This didn't go too long. It went just the right amount of time. I was definitely expecting them to go another 7 more minutes, but regardless, this was a great match. And Cameron Grimes knocked it out of the park yet again. Cameron Grimes, I've said it before, I will say it again. He is the most underappreciated competitor employed in NXT. Matter of fact, he's making a strong case of why he should have won the breakout tournament. Never mind fucking ACH. But this match was great. Grimes' offense was constantly thwarted by Lee in the early portions of this matchup. Grimes was caught with a crossbody from Lee. Grimes with a roundhouse kick, super kick, German suplex combination on Lee for a 2, and he held Lee. He held Lee in the air, and Lee's a big boy. Lee is a big boy. But Cameron Grimes held him. We had a tornado DDT, a standing tornado DDT, a satellite DDT by Grimes for a 2. Keith Lee ended up pouncing Cameron Grimes, and then he hit the Big Bang Catastrophe for the 1, 2, 3. Great match. Afterwards, Damian Priest attacked Keith Lee with the nightstick before Dijakovic saved Lee. Lee ended up spirit bombing Dijakovic, considering that he thought that Dijakovic might have been the one that attacked him. So we could end up seeing some type of multi-man match for the NXT North American Championship at NXT TakeOver in Tampa, if that even takes place. I could definitely see a fatal 4-way, and maybe Cameron Grimes takes the pin. That way they could set up a match potentially between Damian Priest and Keith Lee, and Damian Priest wins the North American title from Keith Lee. That's just how I see it. We'll definitely see how it plays out. But that could potentially happen. Well, again, we'll see how it plays out. I don't know specifically where we're headed. Dakota Kai versus Mia Yim. This was a ladder match qualifying match. This was decent, but the outcome was extremely confusing. So Yim with the fast-paced knees and a drop kick to Kai. Kai was able to hit the chiropractor for a 2. We had a power bomb by Mia Yim, but Raquel Gonzalez pulled Mia Yim's legs. Raquel caused a distraction. Mia Yim was able to hit protect your neck for the win, and then afterwards Raquel Gonzalez laid out Mia Yim. I don't understand how Dakota Kai beat Tegan Nox twice, but that doesn't qualify as her getting into the ladder match and she has to go through Mia Yim. On top of that, Dakota Kai right now is the best heel in the division. Why wouldn't you want to have her in that match? It doesn't really make any sense. Dakota Kai was actually one of my favorites, one of my picks to win the whole thing. And she was one of my picks to gain an NXT Women's Championship opportunity. What's Mia Yim done? It doesn't really make any sense, and it really does halt Dakota Kai's momentum. What the fuck is she gonna be doing? And on top of that, Tegan Nox got in the match. Tegan Nox is in the match. Tegan Nox defeated Deonna Purrazzo later on in the show to earn a spot in that ladder match. I understand if Tegan was in and Dakota was in, that way they can continue that storyline. But the fact that Tegan's in and Dakota's not, I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. I do not like that at all. We had a vignette with the phrase TikTok being showcased, possibly signaling the debut of one Killer Kross. We'll definitely see how that plays out. I'm very interested to see if Killer Kross does factor into anything important early, or do they just have him do the Dijakovic route and job a few times before they start building him up. I don't necessarily know, but Killer Kross is definitely not someone that you want to just throw out there and start having lose matches. You really want to build a guy like Killer Kross up. We'll definitely see how that plays out. Kushida versus Raul Mendoza. This was a damn good match and only went about like 6 minutes as well. Kushida with a Tope Con Hero taking out Mendoza. Mendoza came back with a final cut and a line salt from the bottom rope for a 2 count. Kushida started to build momentum, but Raul Mendoza cut Kushida off. She was going for a rolling senton from the middle rope, but Kushida reversed it into an armbar for the immediate tap-out win. Kushida, glad to see Kushida starting to build momentum. Kushida versus Jordan Devlin. Definitely a match that I would love to see going into the summer. If Kushida builds up enough momentum, Kushida definitely a top contender to take the title off of Jordan Devlin. In 2 weeks, actually, we got Jordan Devlin and Travis Banks for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship on NXT UK, which I can't wait to see. I've been loving Jordan Devlin and everything that Jordan Devlin has been doing as the NXT Cruiserweight Champion. We had a segment backstage with Tyler Breeze and Austin Theory, and Breeze took a selfie of Theory saying, hey, you look pretty good for a flash in the pan. They could be setting up that match down the line. Rhea Ripley addressed the crowd, and Rhea says that she's feeling the pressure, but she gets through it by knocking the Queen on her royal ass. Charlotte Flair interrupted. Charlotte says that she is going to be too much for Rhea to handle before a brawl broke out. Charlotte wrapped Rhea's legs around the post and stood tall, and that was it. Listen, this segment wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. But I can't support it. I'm sorry. I cannot support this match. I can't. And you know why? It's two main reasons why. Number one, I've said this before, and I've been saying it constantly now. WWE is using the concept of a first-time ever matchup between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, a match that I was actually interested in seeing in the future, but they're using it as a way to mask the shitty decision to have Charlotte Flair win the Royal Rumble, similar to what they did with Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel, and how they pretty much gave Bray Wyatt the Universal Championship as an apology for what happened at Hell in a Cell. Now they're pretty much giving this match away at WrestleMania as an apology for Charlotte Flair winning the Royal Rumble and the stupid-ass decision that was pulled. And the gullible stans are buying into this bullshit. It's being used as a way to mask WWE's shitty decision, and on top of that, biggest reason of all, the fact that this is Charlotte Flair we're talking about, and this match is nothing more than a match influenced off of the fear of All Elite Wrestling. So Vince is going to have Charlotte go into WrestleMania, win the title, and hold the title on NXT because he thinks that Charlotte Flair is going to draw ratings to beat out All Elite Wrestling. But meanwhile, Charlotte Flair was on NXT this past Wednesday. We had 2 championship matches and a big brawl, a great brawl between Gargano and Ciampa, and AEW still beat NXT in the ratings. So Charlotte Flair ain't going to do jack shit. If Rhea Ripley ends up retaining, I'm going to be shocked beyond my imagination. I swear. Moving on. Finn Balor, he cut a promo on Walter, and he said that lies travel faster than truth, and he held up a passport saying that he's going to be appearing on NXT UK the following night. Raul Mendoza was actually taken away by 2 masked luchadors. I don't know what's going on there, but should be interesting to see how that plays out. Tegan Nox versus Deonna Purrazzo. Nox went for the cannonball, but Deonna got the knees up. Nox reversed the Fujiwara armbar and hit the Shiniest Wizard for the win. Again, I already explained how I feel about that. Nox, I don't agree with Nox advancing, and Dakota Kai is left with nothing. Stupid. NXT Tag Team Championship match between the Velveteen Dream, or not Velveteen Dream, the Broserweights and the UE. The Velveteen Dream actually stood on the platform above the announce table and said that the Dream has his sights set on Adam Cole. He said that he's not a vile individual and that Roderick Strong is just dumber than he looks. They're just tights with faces on them, Roderick. So Adam Cole announces a celebration next week because he's going to become the longest reigning NXT champion in history before the Broserweights came out and we got the NXT Tag Team Championship match. Bobby Fish was cut down, he started to cut down Riddle. Riddle got the hot tag to done. We had an X-Plex into an armbar on O'Reilly. Riddle with the Tope Con Hero taking out all members of the Undisputed Era. Pete Dunne pulled an Eddie Guerrero, and Adam Cole was in the ring, and he was getting ready to super kick Dunne, but Dunne clapped his hands together and fell to the ground. The ref caught Cole, and the Undisputed Era was trying to say, no. Dunne clapped his hands together, but Riddle was saying, no. Adam Cole super kicked him, and so the Undisputed Era were tossed out. Riddle started to build momentum with an Exploder Suplex and a Fisherman Buster. We had a power slam by Pete Dunne, and O'Reilly kicked out. O'Reilly with a knee drop, but Dunne broke up the pin. Double spear by Riddle before the grizzled young veterans came out and they got involved, but they almost cost the Broserweights. Almost, but they didn't. Fish got sent over the top rope onto the grizzled young veterans. We had the double team strike, the bro to sleep, enziguri combination, and the Broserweights retain. Very good tag team championship match, and it definitely looks like they're setting up for the grizzled young veterans versus Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. Possibly at TakeOver Tampa if the show's not canceled. Next week, we got Mercedes Martinez and Candice LeRae in a ladder match to determine, another participant in the ladder match. So I believe that we're having a ladder match next week to determine another participant in the ladder match. It's either that or it's just a regular match. I couldn't really. It was like a quick flash on the screen. I was taking my notes and then I looked up and then it just flashed away. But I know it said Mercedes Martinez and Candice LeRae. I don't know if it's a ladder match or it's just a ladder match qualifying match. But either way, one of those women is advancing to TakeOver Tampa. We then had the brawl between Ciampa and Gargano. Ciampa came out and he says that time's up. Johnny Gargano came up on the screen and he was in like a seminar room. He was in a seminar room and he was talking to Ciampa from the seminar room, and he said he didn't forget what Ciampa did to him and to NXT, but we're all supposed to forget. We're all supposed to forget, even though you didn't even apologize, everyone's going to chant Daddy's home. Ciampa says, fuck this. Ciampa leaves through the crowd to find Johnny, and they brawl all throughout the PC. They brawl through the medical facility. They brawl into the gym area. Ciampa tossing dumbbells at Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano moving away. The dumbbells going through glass. They brawl into the crowd. Johnny then sent Ciampa up on the platform. And Ciampa, he was on the receiving end of a super kick from Gargano, and Gargano moved the guardrail. He was going to toss Ciampa over the guardrail, but Ciampa reversed it and did an air raid crash off the platform through the announce table, and that is how NXT went off the air. Man, if TakeOver Tampa gets canceled again, after the build that these two are putting forth, I am going to be severely disappointed. This was awesome in every sense of the word. It was a very good wrestling episode. We did get a lot of interesting material. We did get two great championship matches, a great brawl, but the decisions to have Tegan Nox advance and Dakota Kai is left with nothing, like I said, very questionable, and I don't agree with that whatsoever. NXT UK. NXT UK, this really wasn't anything too special. I feel as though they are setting up more for what is to come. We'll see how this plays out, but this wasn't a necessarily bad episode of NXT UK. We did have some interesting material. We had Finn Balor kicking off the show. He said that he came for Walter if he's got the balls to face the Prince. Walter, he came out with Imperium, and Balor had to fight off all members of Imperium, and he was able to dodge Walter. I don't necessarily know where they're building towards with this, if they're building it towards Tampa or if they're building it towards Dublin. For all we know, both of those events could be canceled. We'll definitely have to see and wait to see how that plays out. Piper Niven was interviewed. She said that Kaylee Ray is evil and that someone needs to put a stop to her. So it looks like they're building towards Piper Niven versus Kaylee Ray for the NXT Women's Championship at NXT TakeOver Dublin, if we do end up getting that show. Sam Stoker and Lewis Howley of Pretty Deadly took on Darius Gordon and Dan Maloney. Dan Maloney got the hot tag. He lit up Pretty Deadly with some chops and some side slams before Pretty Deadly ended up coming back with a pop-up gutbuster for the win. And Pretty Deadly, they get their first win as a tag team. So Pretty Deadly getting a win in the NXT Tag Team division. I guess Pretty Deadly could very well be a new tag team that they're going to build up in the near future, which I don't mind. Alexander Wolf was in the back, and he demanded a match with Finn Balor Johnny Saint said, okay, thank you, when Alexander Wolf, and he walked away. Jordan Devlin came in, and Sid Scala said that in 2 weeks, Jordan Devlin will defend the Cruiserweight title against Travis Banks, as I already stated. Next week, we got Dave Mastiff, Webster, and Andrews taking on Gallus. That should be an interesting six-man tag. Ligero versus Noam Dar. This was a decent match for what it was. We got a couple decent matches on this show. Dar with a drop kick sending Ligero to the floor. Dar isolated the right hand before Ligero came back with a reverse DDT for a 2. Ligero was caught in the Fujiwara armbar before Ligero was able to get his way out of it. Dar with a punt kick to the leg, and he hit the Nova Roller for the 1, 2, 3. I don't really know where Noam Dar is going. Wins are great, but he's not going to factor into the NXT UK Championship title picture anytime soon. I'm going to keep on saying it until they do it. Mid-card title. Danny Luna versus Amal. The match was actually interrupted. This match didn't even go 3 minutes. It was interrupted by Kaylee Ray. She attacked both women and said that it doesn't matter whether you've been here from the beginning or you're just getting your foot in the door. The division belongs to her. Luna tried to attack her, and then she got gory bombed. And that was pretty much it. So Kaylee Ray, I'm telling you right now, outside of Shayna Baszler, whether you want to admit it or not, outside of Shayna Baszler, Kaylee Ray is the best female heel in the entire women's division in the WWE across any brand. She is the best female heel outside of Shayna Baszler. Her work has been exceptional since the start of the year. I can't wait to see Kaylee Ray versus Piper Niven for the NXT Women's Championship in the near future. Finn Balor versus Alexander Wolf. This was another decent match. This only went about 8 minutes. This was pretty much a setup match. Finn Balor getting another win here, setting up an NXT UK title opportunity against Walter. Wolf started to cut down Balor in the early portions, and Imperium came out to watch. Balor came out with a huge flying forearm and a basement drop kick to Wolf. Wolf caught Balor with a clothesline after Imperium got involved. Imperium got ejected. We had a jumping punt kick, and a German suplex by Wolf for a 2. John Woo drop kick, coup de grace, and a 1916 for the win by Balor, and that was that to end NXT UK. Couple decent matches, nothing too special, but it's definitely setting up more to come in the near future. NXT UK, it's still been doing some great stuff, and I highly encourage everyone to start going out of your way to watch NXT UK. You won't regret it. SmackDown. SmackDown it had a very weird feel. It had a very ominous feel, so to speak. There was no one in the audience. No one in the audience of the PC, and listen, I do appreciate them going out of their way, even when they don't have to put on an entertaining show for us. But whether you want to admit it or not, I'm sorry, the show is not good. The show was not good. Outside of Triple H's juvenile antics with Michael Cole, touching up his beard with a Sharpie, and playing with the camera and making one-liners with Michael Cole, having Mojo Rawley come in there, and Triple H and Mojo Rawley shaking Michael Cole and shaking his headset off. Outside of Triple H's juvenile antics and the promo with John Cena and Bray Wyatt, I'm sorry, this was not a good show. It was pretty much a SmackDown with no one in the crowd. Bayley and Sasha kicked off the show. They said that they are the face of the women's division. Paige had travel issues, so she was not there. Bliss and Cross came out, and they ramble off some bullshit before we get a tag team match. I barely even took notes on this match. All I know is that Bliss and Cross were in control from the beginning. Nikki got the hot tag. Crossbody broken up by Bayley. Asuka then attacked Alexa, and then Sasha tapped out Nikki. It was boring. It was boring as shit. I didn't give a shit, and to be quite honest with you, I am not going to give a shit about a triple threat women's tag team title match at WrestleMania. The women's division on the main roster is absolutely terrible outside of a few women, and this just wasn't a good tag team match. I'm sorry it wasn't. And then don't even get me started on what Roman Reigns had to say with fucking Goldberg. Roman Reigns, he rambled off some bullshit about him getting back as quickly as possible. Oh my God. Getting back as quickly as possible from his leukemia. Yeah, the leukemia that WWE overhyped. The leukemia that WWE made it sound more serious than it really was. The leukemia that WWE made it seem like Roman Reigns had one foot in the grave when all he had to do was take pills and he could still appear on movies. He could still appear on TV shows. He was going to football games and talk shows, but he had one foot in the grave. You know that WWE scripted Roman Reigns to say that. You know he did. You know they did. Getting back as quickly as possible. And he main events the small shows, so why shouldn't he be able to main event the biggest show? Because you didn't win the fucking Royal Rumble. I don't care whether the Royal Rumble winner has not always main event WrestleMania or not. The fact that the Royal Rumble winner has not been main eventing WrestleMania is absolutely sinful. I don't give a shit. If WWE says Royal Rumble winner main events WrestleMania, then they should stick by that. Regardless of how long ago the Royal Rumble winner hasn't been main eventing WrestleMania. Royal Rumble winner main events WrestleMania regardless. Why shouldn't you main event the biggest show of the year? Because you are a complete flop in your current position, Roman. You are a complete flop as a babyface. You've been shitting the bed as a babyface since 2015. You were booed with Goldberg 2 weeks ago. That's why they kept you and Goldberg off of television last week. And they only put you on this week because there was no one in the Performance Center to boo you. Called Goldberg a part-timer like we haven't heard that one before in his feud with Brock Lesnar 2 years ago. Says he's taking the Universal title and setting things right. Who dubbed Goldberg and Roman the main event of WrestleMania? Why isn't McIntyre and Lesnar main eventing WrestleMania after McIntyre won the fucking Royal Rumble? Stupid. And then you'll have people that support this shit. We had a segment backstage with Jeff Hardy and Baron Corbin. Hardy said that he is going to be facing off against Corbin in his return match before Elias came out, and Corbin walked away before Elias could even play him a song. Bryan found Gulak in the back, and he asked him for tips before Sami Zayn, Nakamura, and Cesaro got in their faces, and then we got a match between Bryan and Cesaro, which was, it was I mean, it was standard Bryan and Cesaro stuff, but, you know, and again, I don't necessarily know how anyone could really get excited about it, even when there's, even if it's Bryan and Cesaro. I mean, it's SmackDown, for fuck's sakes. Miz and Morrison, they cut a promo in the ring after, literally, WWE showed the entire, and I got the match playing in the background right now. WWE literally showed the entire Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber, from Elimination Chamber, the whole 30 minutes of it. If you were just going to do that, and you were just going to have promos and a couple of 8-minute matches, you might as well not even have the show at all. I actually wish that they didn't have the show at all, to be quite honest with you. I actually wish that Vince McMahon would have just allowed the superstars to go be with their families. Show was a waste of time. Called them the greatest tag team of the 21st century, and they made some jokes saying if there's anyone here that doesn't agree with us being the best tag team of the 21st century, speak up now. So they took shots at the empty Performance Center, and that was pretty much that. Bryan versus Cesaro, it wasn't necessarily bad, but it was just standard Bryan and Cesaro stuff, just with no crowd. Bryan with the lariat and the yes kicks to Cesaro. We had a pop-up uppercut before Drew Gulak got involved after Bryan rolled up Cesaro in a small package for the win. Nakamura and Cesaro then took out Gulak along with Sami Zayn, and both men, Bryan and Gulak, were left laying by the three individuals, by the three musketeers, as I'm calling them. Next week, we got the Universal Championship contract signing, and surprise, surprise, they're making that next week, and no one's going to get booed because there's going to be no one in the Performance Center. Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy versus King Corbin. I didn't even pay attention to this matchup. Elias got involved, started strumming his guitar before Jeff Hardy hit the Twist of Fury. Yes, you heard me correctly. Twist of Fury. Seems as though Rebby Hardy may have trademarked Twist of Fate for Mr. Exalted One. Swanton Bomb and Jeff Hardy wins. I'm actually surprised that Jeff Hardy actually won this match. I'm actually surprised that Jeff Hardy didn't lose this match, considering that WWE does have a history of punishing people in the most petty way possible. I wouldn't be surprised if over the next few weeks, WWE actually starts making Jeff Hardy lose and punishing Jeff Hardy because Matt Hardy is off doing his own thing. John Cena came out to address his WrestleMania match with The Fiend. John Cena addressed how lazy Wyatt got after his match at WrestleMania 30. I'm sorry, John, Wyatt didn't get lazy. You know who got lazy? WWE Creative. And Vince McMahon, he got lazy. Cena says that he's never been lazy, and no one ever talks about John Cena getting buried because of who he is. You're right, it is because of who you are. But it's not because of the reasons that you're saying, John. The reason why no one says that John Cena is buried, because before you rattled off, you being squashed by The Undertaker, you losing to CM Punk, you getting destroyed by Brock Lesnar, you getting beat by Randy Orton and Triple H and Shawn Michaels and all these types of people. John, you were already a bona fide megastar. John Cena was already a bona fide megastar. There was a point 10 years ago in 2010, Roddy Piper took his Hall of Fame ring and said, from a Hall of Famer to a future Hall of Famer. That's what John Cena was, a future Hall of Famer before 2010. John Cena was a future Hall of Famer before 2010. John Cena was already set in stone as one of the greatest to lace up a pair of boots and one of the most accomplished WWE superstars in the company's history. Why did no one say that John Cena was buried? Because before John Cena took all those losses and before all of those moments, John Cena already put himself on the map as one of, if not the most established superstar of the modern era. Bray Wyatt and guys like him, they were on the road to becoming megastars. They were on the road to becoming the next big things before they ran into someone like John Cena, and Vince McMahon booked John Cena to beat a guy like Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 30. Logic gaps everywhere. And I'm not the only one that's saying that. I'm not the only one that's saying that, and I'm not the only one that's thinking that. Cena then just promised to end the potential of the most overhyped superstar in WWE history before Wyatt came out. Yes, Wyatt actually came out. Not on the screen. Wyatt came out in the Mr. Rogers attire. And Wyatt said that Cena, he craves and he fiends, pun intended, for the spotlight. Wyatt said that Cena broke him, but The Fiend put him back together, and at WrestleMania it is going to be a slaughter. Let me in, John. This was an awesome segment. This segment was very well done, and it just goes to show you that this should have been the Universal title program going into WrestleMania, not Goldberg and Roman Reigns. Whether you want to admit it or not, Cena and Wyatt may not have needed the championship, but it would have added, and this storyline would have benefited a lot more. And again, I will state, no matter how good this segment was, and this was a great segment, this was probably the best segment of the entire show, outside of Triple H's antics, but The Fiend and his aura, his mystique, his feel, his specialness is still gone. There's nothing about The Fiend that's redeeming. He's already been beaten. So again, why are we going to care about Cena potentially beating The Fiend after The Fiend's already lost? I did a whole ass rant on that on last week's Lightning Flash update. Not last week's, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Lightning Flash update. I apologize. Awesome segment. Awesome stuff. But, again, I'm sorry. It wasn't a good show. This wasn't a good show. 205 Live it pretty much really wasn't anything special. We had the Captain's Challenge. Kushida ended up being the 5th man since Lio Rush got taken out by Jack Gallagher. So it was the 205 Live Originals, Mike Kanellis, Jack Gallagher, Tony Nese, and the Brian Kendrick and Arya Daivari versus Team NXT, Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Tyler Breeze, and Kushida. I'm pretty much going to run through this because obviously I want to get out of here. I want to just relax and do whatever. It's a Saturday. I have been running around in circles this entire week. It's been a pretty busy week for me. Danny Burch was eliminated. Danny Burch was eliminated after Nese clocked him in the head with the Singh Cam. The Singh brothers were actually on the outside supporting the 205 Live Originals. Tyler Breeze was eliminated by a roll-up by Jack Gallagher. Nese was eliminated by a half-and-half by Lorcan after Jack Gallagher distracted him. Jack Gallagher was actually frustrated, and he caused an elimination on Kanellis when he headbutted Kanellis, and Kanellis got rolled up by Lorcan. Swerve rolled up Daivari for the elimination, and then he rolled up Kendrick for the elimination, so it was 3-on-1 between Jack and the 3 remaining 205 Live NXT guys. Both men were taken out, and then Swerve was taken out by Kendrick and Daivari afterwards. Swerve was sent over the table, and then they took out Kushida as well. Gallagher with the rolling elbow on Lorcan for the elimination. Gallagher was then wiped out by Swerve, or Gallagher wipes out Swerve over the announce table. Swerve hit the house call, but Jack Gallagher kicked out. We had an armbar on Gallagher after the pop culture, that pop out, the arm stomp that Isaiah Swerve Scott does, the more brutal one that Isaiah Swerve Scott does, more brutal than the one that Shayna Baszler does, actually, and Team NXT wins. We then had a face-off between Isaiah Swerve Scott and Kushida. Very much looking forward to seeing a possible match between those two. Team NXT wins as expected. Nothing too crazy here, ladies and gentlemen. That wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. Fairly short edition of the Lightning Flash Update. I'm going to go home. I'm going to relax. And I'm going to just decompress. I'm going to eat some lunch. I don't know what I have on tap for lunch. Maybe some pizza. I'm not sure. Maybe some pizza. Maybe some, I don't know, maybe some stromboli. Yeah, I'm feeling like some stromboli. I don't know about you guys. You know, that's a good topic. You know, comment down below, what's your favorite type of stromboli? I don't know, a little random for the Lightning Flash Update, but regardless, I'll keep you guys updated on everything going on as far as the channel goes for the rest of the week and the rest of the month. Stay safe, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash Update. I hope you guys have a good weekend. Try to enjoy your weekend at least. I know it's stressful. If anyone needs to talk to me, you know where to find me. All social media links are in the description. Have a good day, ladies and gents.